Welcome to the second video on plagal second mode hard chromatic. So earlier I made a video about the scale, the hard chromatic scale, which we use in plagal second mode. This video is going to be more so about the structure of the mode. So if you haven't watched the first video, definitely watch that. Like I said, I discussed the scale, the hard chromatic scale. And again, we're talking about plagal second mode. One thing I want to clarify is that plagal second mode is many times hard chromatic, but not always. As a side note, we have various different genres of music in our chanting. We will have some slower paced hymns and faster paced. So, for example, we will have faster paced hymns that are going to be like basically one beat per syllable. We call these hymns irmologiko. Irmologiko. And these are like apolitikia and such. Now there's an exception within the plagal second mode where irmologika hymns within this mode will actually often be soft chromatic and not hard chromatic. But in this video, we're going to be discussing the plagal second mode hard chromatic only. And again, we have various genres of music, of chanting. One of these is also called stichirariko. This is going to be a bit slower paced. So it's going to have a few more beats per syllable. We're going to see these types of hymns a lot in Vespers and Orthros, and in the plagal second mode, most of these hymns that are stichirariko are going to be in the hard chromatic, which is the tone which is the scale that we're going to be working with. And before I go any further, if you want to learn this type of thing with me one-on-one at a pace that works best for you, in a way that works with your schedule, even if you're busy with other things, and in an online personalized sort of setting, then you can click the link in the pinned comments, and in the description of this video you can try a free lesson. It's the nativity season, and there's no better time to learn how to chant if that's something you were wanting to get into, especially like I said, for the nativity season, to actually be able to participate up there at the chanter stand during the nativity services. If that's something that interests you, you can give it a try. No long term sort of commitment required. You just have to be willing to be consistent and not give up, and you can give it a try completely. Give it a try for free in the pinned comments or the link in the description. So we have a few things going on in this mode. First, let's talk about our dominant notes. So in every mode, I think I spoke about this in the last video, but in every tone, we are going to have sort of dominant notes that are prevalent in that mode. In plagal second mode, those dominant notes are going to be pa, the, ye, and sometimes ga. Pa is our main note, I guess we could say. This is going to be the note that we have this is the basis. This is like our basis within this mode. So, pa is going to be used in what we call complete cadences. Complete cadences, when we chant, it's like we have a sentence within the hymn, within the melody. And a complete cadence is like a period at the end of a sentence. Like if I'm saying tas psychasimon, of our souls, or yes sose tas psychasimon, and save our souls. It's like there's a period here at the end of imon. This is what we would call like a complete cadence. It's the end of a sentence. So we're going to see pa quite a bit in this tone as a dominant note. We're going to have complete cadences. We're going to also have incomplete cadences sometimes with pa. An incomplete cadence is like we're in the middle of a sentence. And we'll get into that in a second. But and then we'll have final cadences. This is kind of like a final cadence. It's like we're ending a specific hymn within the mode. And I'll get into some examples, more specific examples of this in a second. But we're going to see pa quite a bit in this tone as a dominant note. So let's just keep that in mind. Next is the. And like I said again in the other video, these dominant notes are helpful especially if you lose your place within the hymn that you're chanting. If you lose your place and you're not sure what note you should be on, look to one of these notes. Maybe it's pa, maybe it's the. It's usually one of these two. The is very common in this mode in what we might call incomplete cadences. So an incomplete cadence is like when we're in the middle of a sentence and we've got like a martiria in the middle, we've got like a little pause in the middle. So if I'm chanting και σώσε τας ψυχάς ημών, we have και σώσε. And then right in the middle, we've got a the martiria. So you're going to see that a lot. We've got the right in the middle here, almost mid-sentence, like a melodic sentence, but it's also an actual sentence. Like it's a sentence in terms of the melody, but it's also an actual sentence in terms of like what we're chanting. So we're in the middle of a sentence. It can be like a comma. We're going to see the quite a bit in this sort of context. Also, we have the verses. For all of our hymns, we will have various psalm verses that we will intone during Orthros, during Vespers. And in this tone, the is our note that we intone the psalm and the verse on. We intone it on the for the majority of the verse, and then we go back down to pa. We go down to pa at the very end of the verse. But the verse is chanted, intoned on the. Next we have kye. Kye is like the upper half, of it's the half of that other tetrachord. Again, in the other video, I talked about the concept of the tetrachord, the one half of the tetrachord, pa vu ga di, and the second half is going to be kye zo ni pa. Well, kye is right there at the beginning. Kye often will be another sort of incomplete. It'll be found on incomplete cadences, mid-sentence type of situations. Often, not always, but sometimes we will have kye as this sort of incomplete cadence right before we go up to the upper pa. If the melody, in this case, the melody will often ascend to upper pa, and kye is going to be, in that sense, a dominant note, a sort of incomplete cadence, I guess we could call it. And it doesn't always go up to upper pa, but a lot of times it will. And we have ga. Ga is not really a common cadence point in the stichirariko. Every once in a while we'll see a doxastiko that will have an incomplete ending on ga. Every once in a while. But really in the papadika genre of hymns, that's another genre of our chanting. These are the slower paced hymns, like communion hymns, cherubic hymns, and so on. It gets its name from papas, which is priest, because these hymns kind of revolve around how much time the priest needs to do what he needs to do. during the service. Basically, Ga will be seen quite a bit as a tentative or incomplete ending in a lot of communion hymns. So, something to be aware of. So, those are the dominant notes in this tone. Next, we have melodic attractions. Now, within this specific mode, by the way, I spoke about melodic attractions in general in my previous video, where basically these notes of the scale, of the hard chromatic scale, are not fixed as if like independently chanted independently of each other, as if in a textbook or on a staff. The notes of the scale move and can move sometimes slightly in relation to what the melody is doing. So this is what we call melodic attractions. Now there's a bit of a caveat here, specifically when we're talking about plagal second mode. Often you'll see many people will attract ni, I'm talking about lower ni, they will attract it towards pa when the melody sort of touches the lower ni. So for example, let's take this. Tas psichas imon. We have the knee right here, and the knee is sharpened. The knee is sharpened and pushed towards pa. So it's going to go like Tas psichas imon. I'll do it one more time in case the microphone didn't pick it up. Tas psichas imon. I'm sharpening ni. I'm going diga pa ni pa ni pa. Hopefully you can hear that. Now there's a bit of a, I guess we could call it a bit of an issue here. You will often see this attraction in textbooks, in recordings. But however, one thing I noticed, this is why you can't rely solely on textbooks, because when you go and you listen to the patriarchal chanters, you listen to Neochoritis, you listen to Paikopoulos, you will notice that in these sort of phrases, they actually do not attract the ni to the pa. The ni is actually natural. The ni is diatonic, we could say. The distance is 12. So if you listen to the way they chant it, it's going to go more like Tas psicha asimon diga pa ni pa ni pa. It's just like diatonic. This is important because what I will I guess conclude from all of this is that this sort of attraction is from the influence of Karas, Simon Karas, basically, and Angelopoulos and that type of thing. Now, you can do what you want, but I'm just telling you, I would avoid this. Because if you listen to the patriarchal chanters, they do not do this. They chant the ni as normal. So, I would ignore this. Just saying. Another attraction you'll often see is Ra towards thee. Now, the distance of Ra and thee in this mode, or in this scale, is already very close. It's 4. Very close. That's very close. But sometimes we will see, again, it depends on what the melody is doing. Sometimes when the melody is ascending, we will find that Ra is actually attracted even more towards thee, almost to the point where it stops being Ra and it blurs into thee. We will find this sometimes. Let's look at an example. We've got the Pasap Noi. Let's look at this part right here. Really, it goes like this. Avugadi Pasa Noi. Listen to Ra and thee. Pasa Noi. Avugadi. Now we're ascending, like I said, towards thee. So one thing that you will hear quite a bit is they will do it like this. I'll do it again in case the microphone didn't catch it. It's hard to do with paralayi, but so what am I doing? I'm connecting this in such a way that I go right into thee, and Ra blurs into thee, and it stops being Ra and it's thee, because Ra is so close to thee. This is a melodic attraction you might see sometimes. Something to keep in mind. That's really all that there is in this tone as far as melodic attractions are concerned. So, something to keep in mind. What's the Aihima of plagal second mode? The Aihima is right here. The Aihima is on Pa. And the way we might chant it, the way many chanters will do it, is like this. It's on Pa. No. And it goes like this. Or this is the official Aihima for plagal second mode. Sometimes we will have chanters who will include part of the Aihima in the hymn that they are chanting. It might go like this. And they'll chant the hymn, in which case it would be written like this instead, and would not be up to. But they will add this to the beginning of the hymn, which is basically Pa. And so on. It's like the beginning of the Aihima, and you'll hear them do this quite a bit. So, basically, that's the Aihima. And now we have the final endings. Hopefully it's visible. Yep, it is. So in plagal second mode, we have final endings of a hymn in the mode. And these final endings are going to be done not on Pa, but actually on thee. And what I mean by a final ending is it's the difference between a hymn, let's say, that comes after the Pa Sapnoi, or the Lord I have cried. It might end on Pa, like right here. It's like a complete cadence, what we will call it. We're not. It's not the end of a hymn. It's not the end of the hymns within the mode. For example, another hymn will come after it. But let's say we have a doxastiko. A doxastiko is like the ending of the hymn, right? We go through Lord I have cried, we go through the stichira, and then we have the doxastiko. Well, the doxastiko is going to have an ending not on pa but on the. Let me give you another example. We have, if we're chanting a cherubic hymn in plagal second mode, and we chant we chant Oston Vasilea ton Olon. It's technically an ending, but we're not done with the cherubic hymn because we still have more left. We still have Des Angelikes. So the Oston Vasilea, you will hear that we may receive the King of all, Oston Vasilea in Greek. You will see it ends on Pa. However, the very end of the cherubic hymn, Des Angelikes, by the angelic hosts, it ends on the. That's the final. That's what we call a final ending within this mode. So this, which goes Das Simon. If it's a final ending, it's going to be rewritten. Instead, it's going to sound like this. Das Simon. Again, this final part is added. Ending on the, not pa. So that's how we do the final endings. Now, let's talk about Eson. What note do we hold the Eson on in this mode? There's a few things we can do. There's something I tell people when they're in doubt, when they're not sure what note to hold the Eson on. I'd say stick to Pa. Pa is our bass note. So, that's Pa. You can hold that as the bass note for most of anything chanted in this tone. Now, if you're able to, the Eson does change sometimes. For example, the hymn that you are chanting often will switch to diatonic with a flora, and it will maybe go from the to upper ni. And in this case, when you hear this, often you can switch the Eson to the. A good clue, like I said, is if it's going from it's going into diatonic, it's going to upper ni, and often another clue is you'll see the martiria at the end will be the. The martiria in the middle, I guess, will be the. Often the Eson will switch to the. Another Eson is kye. Remember, it kind of matches, the Esons kind of correspond to the dominant notes of the mode. So we've got kye. Often, like I said, when we're ascending to upper pa, often the Eson's going to switch to kye. So, and then you also will probably see kye as the martiria. So these are some clues you can look out for. this is assuming the Eson is not written in. A lot of hymns, they just don't have the Eson written in. So these are some good rules to know, what Eson to do. So we have learned in the previous video the scale. We've learned the dominant notes of the mode, the melodic attractions, kind of the ones not, maybe the ones to avoid, and the ones that, are okay to do sometimes, the Aihima, and the final ending. So, this again applies to plagal second hard chromatic. So, what mode do you want to learn next? Comment below, and if you know somebody who would benefit from this type of content, definitely share this video with them. God bless you.